Welcome to a brand new episode of Johnson's Court. Today, I'm super excited to be with you today. This video is coming out on time. It is Thursday. It is the start of week 4 of Thursday Night Football. We will get games kicked off this week at 8:15, and it's an NFC East showdown. But before I get into who's playing, let me go over the records from last week. Well, last week we had 4 different people picking. We had myself, we had Nick, we had Beagle, and then we had our special guest on the channel, Dylan Oakley. So if you guys haven't seen that episode, do go watch it. Dylan Oakley is on that. We were on the road last week in Columbus, so please go give that a watch. But on this episode this week, it is just me, myself, and it's just Nick picking and Beagle picking. But last week, for all our records, Dylan is the only outlier from last week. He went 7-9. Not 500, not the best, to come on. But last week, I had a lot of different things going on. But for me, Nick, and Beagle, we all went 8-8. 8. So pretty cool to see that, it just happened to be from last week that we all had the same record, besides Dylan, who was the outlier. But for the people who will be picking for the rest of the year, I haven't counted up, our total records so far. I don't know where we are exactly, but I know that we're probably similar and pretty close to it. And there are no ties so far, so we're only in the win column and the loss column, thank God. But with that being said, we're going to get straight into it. We're going to get into our picks, and then obviously always the segment at the end of just whatever I feel like talking about. Last week it was the injuries. This week it'll be about which 0-3 team can still make the playoffs. And I'll give you a hint. They're all 3 still in the AFC. Kind of wild to think about. Do all 3 of those teams make the playoffs, or do none of them make the playoffs? We'll find out here in the next 15 minutes. But with that being said, I've got my computer over here to the left of me, seeing all the matchups, what time they play, and we're going to write them down, and we're going to keep on chugging along, ladies and gentlemen. So 8:15 tonight, you've got the Dallas Cowboys coming in and playing the New York Giants. Now, the Cowboys have not been off to a hot start. They are 1-2, could be 3-0, could be 0-3, just depending on, what Dallas Cowboys team is going to show up at the end of the day. They almost came back and beat the Ravens last week, but only lost by 3 points. They were down by a lot more than that. Then you got the New York Giants over here at 1-2. Not really saying that they shouldn't be 1-2, not saying they should be 0-3, but that record could look a little different, could be 2-1, depending on, holding the lead or, playing how you're supposed to be playing during practice and translating that to the game. But this one is at home for the Giants. The Giants have not beat the Dallas Cowboys at their home stadium since 2015, a stat that I saw. And I think that's going to be the outcome tonight. I think the Cowboys do get this win, and I do think it's, by a pretty large margin. I think maybe the Giants put up 7, maybe 14 points, but I don't see very much points in that being scored for the Giants. Now, do I see the Cowboys scoring at least 30? Absolutely, I do. So you've got myself going the Cowboys, you've got Nick going the Cowboys, and then you've also got Beagle going the Cowboys. And if you guys know anything about Dylan from last week, if you watch the videos, this is his favorite team, and I know he's picking the Cowboys as well, even though they're on the road. But who knows? Could feel like a home game for him. Then we get started at 1 p.m. on Sunday. How many 1 o'clock games do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 1 o'clock games. So a lot. I believe all teams are still playing. No one's really taken their bye week yet. Some teams have shorter weeks depending on if you play Sunday, Monday, come around, turn around and play on Sunday. You play on Thursday, flip-flop, this and that. But on Sunday, to get us started at 1 o'clock, is a game that you would think should be pretty easy for the Cincinnati Bengals to win. But that's not necessarily the case. They are 0-3. So there's one team right there that's 0-3. Do they turn their season around? I absolutely think so. And like I said, I'll talk about that and get into that a little bit later. But they're playing the Carolina Panthers, who the Carolina Panthers, made a switch at QB. Andy Dalton, who is a former Cincinnati Bengals QB, who has led the Cincinnati Bengals to the playoffs. Can he lead the new, the Carolina Panthers to the playoffs? I don't know. I mean, obviously we'll see. Does he eventually get benched again? Does he get hurt? Does Bryce Young come back in? I don't know what happens. Even though this is a home game for the Panthers, I do think the Bengals turn it around. And if you're going to turn it around, you have to turn it around to the suckiest team in the NFL right now. The suckiest organization in the NFL right now. This is where you build up momentum and you're like, look, we should win this game no matter what. But we need to pretend like we're not going to win this game. Because you need to pull out all the stops, all the things. Because Bengals were 1-2 plays away from being 3-0. Cough, cough, one being the refs for the Chiefs. But, other than that, they put themselves in positions to win the games and just haven't closed out that, when it mattered. Like last week they played the Commanders. Commanders and Jalen Daniels came out firing and they wanted to win that game. So, to just see the way that the Commanders played, I could see us, the Bengals losing that game. But I don't see the Bengals losing this game. And if they do, you might as well kiss your season goodbye if you're going 0-4. But let's not kiss it goodbye yet. Let's go Bengals for their first win. Let's see here. Beagle thinks they get their first win, but Nicholas does not think that. He thinks that Andy Dalton, this is his revenge game. He believes that he's going to come out firing and show what he did last week, carry over into this week. So our first disagreement right there is Nick is going to pick the Panthers. Your next 1 o'clock game is the New Orleans Saints playing the Atlanta Falcons. Both these teams are playing pretty well right now, especially with the Atlanta Falcons having a new QB. Week 1 was rough for them. Didn't score a single touchdown, lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, they've been playing better ever since. They could have beat the Chiefs last Sunday night, or was it Monday night? Cock off refs once again screwed them over. So there's that. But then the Saints are all falling 2-1. The Saints are playing pretty good this year. It is a home game for the Falcons. Kirk Cousins is playing pretty well. How does Derek Carr and the Saints, they're the best team on paper right now for the NFL. And I think they continue that. And this is an NFC South showdown. So this game really does matter early in the year to set that divisional record to see who is going to, clinch that playoff spot, clinch that division at the end of the year. And I'm going the Saints here. Let's see here. Nick is also going to go with the Saints. And Beagle's going to go with Falcons. So there we disagree. Beagle thinks Kirk Cousins can get it done. It's not Sunday or Monday night. And he believes that he can. Not a bad pick, though. The Falcons are playing, they're getting in their groove. So that'll be a good 1 o'clock game. Our next 1 o'clock game is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who was another 0-3 team, playing the Houston Texans. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars have not been playing well. Trevor Lawrence signed a big deal right before week 1, and he has not been playing like the money that he deserves or got signed. Now, the Houston Texans, they've been off to a slower start. They are 2-1, but I think this is a home game for the Texans. C.J. Stroud, I think, is getting better with Stephon Diggs and everything. They're clicking their offense, and I think they're going to do the same thing for this against their AFC South opponent. And Jacksonville Jaguars may finish last in the division, or if not third, depending on how them and the Tennessee Titans do. But I see the Texans winning this game pretty easily, which they should. So does Nick. He thinks the Texans come out on top, and so does Beagle. Your next 1 o'clock game is the Denver Broncos coming in and playing the New York Jets. Now, the Broncos were able to get a win last week over the undefeated Buccaneers. Bo Nix came out firing, scored his first rushing TD, I believe. And, I had the Buccaneers winning that game. But, like I said, I've got high hopes for, Bo Nix and the Broncos. And so, they've got to win. They obviously weren't going to go 0-16. I didn't think they were going to. But the way that the Bucs started, I just thought the Bucs were going to win that game because it was at home for the Bucs. But didn't happen. But you've got the New York Jets. The Broncos are coming in playing the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is not hurt yet. Knock on some wood here. And I think as long as he doesn't get hurt, the Jets have a potential to obviously win every single game that they play. They have contention to win every single game, even if one of their games was versus the Chiefs or, obviously in their same division as the Bills. They can obviously beat the Bills. But, without Aaron Rodgers, you can't beat the Bills. But since you have him still, I do think this is a pretty good game for the Jets, and I do believe that they get it done. And I believe that the Crews at MetLife Stadium will get this game, the field flipped over for this game on Sunday. So give me the Jets over the Broncos, but I do think this will be a good test for Bo Nix with that tough Jets defense. Nick thinks the Jets are going to win, and so does Beagle. Man, we are getting... Oh, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll fix that there for you. Whoop. Sorry, guys, having a little bit of difficulties here. Oh, there we go. We should be fine now. You guys can still see my face. You've got the Minnesota Vikings coming in and playing the Green Bay Packers. This is another 1 o'clock game. This is a NFC North showdown. This is, does Jordan Love come back this week? He is questionable. Don't know his status as of right now. But Sam Darnold and the Vikings are one of the best teams in the NFL right now, if not the best team in the NFL, actually. So they're one step above the Saints as the Vikings are 3-0. How do they do against the Packers? It's a home game for the Packers. It's not cold yet up there. So how do Sam Darnold and the Vikings keep rolling? Does, Aaron Jones come back and do a Lambeau leap? And is he able to get into the end zone to be able to do that? How do the Vikings stack up against, Malik Willis, who has been playing pretty well actually for the Packers? Depending on which QB they start will depend on how this game goes. But since I know the Vikings are in their stride right now, playing pretty well, I do believe that they stay undefeated and they go to 4-0. Nick thinks so, and so does Beagle. So you've got that. We all think that the Vikings are still going to roll. But their next 1 o'clock game is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Steelers are off to a great start right now. They are another undefeated team, 3-0. And they're playing the Colts, who are not playing pretty well right now. I believe they are 1-2. Yeah, they're 1-2, which easily could have been 0-3. The Colts have not been playing like they should this year. You hear from a lot of Colts fans, what are we doing? Why are we not getting it together? And yes, it's a home game for the Colts this week, but AR's going up against a very tough defense, if not the best defense in the league. You got to go against TJ Watt. This will be a fun game to watch, but at the end of the day, I do see the Steelers coming out on top because that defense is just... Defense wins you games, and I do believe that the Steelers win this game because of their defense. But Justin Fields is playing very, very well as well, and, it just shows that the Bears suck. Sorry to all you Bears fans out there. Sorry to you, Beagle. But, as you can see, Caleb Williams not playing very well. As you can see, Justin Fields goes to a new team, playing great. 3-0, really running with the Steelers. And I do think they continue that. I will say I think the Steelers do eventually lose. Obviously, I don't think any team will go undefeated again like the Patriots did, back in the day. But I do think the Steelers do win this game on the road. The fans do travel pretty well. And I think the Steelers get this win on the road because Justin Fields is an elite quarterback in the NFL. Nick obviously, is going to go the Colts. He's probably going to pick the Colts every time this year. He thinks they're going to go 16-0 or 17-0 now. And then Beagle's going to Steelers. So I feel like Beagle is a little bit more realistic here. But I do think Nick probably thinks that the Colts, need to, it's a home game for them. So obviously he's pulling for him a little bit more. But he probably also thinks that, if the Colts want to turn their season around, it's now and it's at home in front of the fans to show them what they are made of going forward. Our next 1 o'clock game is the LA Rams playing the Chicago Bears. I think just, like I said, the Bears did play the Colts last week. The Colts squeaked that one out barely. But, like I said, they were right there of almost being 0-3. But they were able to win it. Caleb Williams and the Bears have not been playing well. The Rams were able to, come back down. I think they were down by 14, maybe 17 points versus the 49ers. So the 49ers are very beat up right now. And, the Rams are able to come back. I think they carry that momentum and going over towards, the Windy City, and they're able to get that done. The Bears do have a really good defense, though. That's why the Colts struggle. That's why a lot of teams will struggle against the Bears, just because the Bears do have a good defense. Now, they got to translate that to offensive side, but I do think that the Rams do take this game on the road. Nick is going to go the Rams as well, and Beagle is going to go the Bears, which, like I said, he's a Bears fan through thick and thin, just like Nick is a Colts fan, so I understand why he's picking the Bears here. But I do think, just being realistic, I do think the Rams do win this game. Our last 1 o'clock game, ladies and gentlemen, is the Philadelphia Eagles coming in and playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers got woken up last week and was like, oh shit, we're now 2-1. So how do we get back up on our feet and, continue the charge? The Eagles not playing the best right now. If I look at their record, they are 2-1. So both these teams are 2-1. Either one of these teams could be 3-1 and still only have one loss on their record. The Eagles are playing this is a road game for them. Do I know how the Eagles are going to perform? I don't. I do believe in Baker Mayfield a little bit more. I think the Eagles are struggling, and I think they're going to continue that just a little bit. And I think the Buccaneers, since they're home, are going to get this win. They're going to edge. They're going to edge it out. Nicholas is going to go the Eagles, so he thinks the Eagles are going to get this road win, and so does Beagle. So I differ here, and that's only because, like I said, I think the Bucs are at home, so I think that gives them a little bit more of an advantage. But the Eagles are still a good team, and they still could win this game. So if I had to look back at the 1 o'clock game of the week, which there are a lot of good 1 o'clock games of the week, I'm probably going to have to give it to the Vikings and Eagles with an NFC North showdown. Going to be a really good game, but I think your next one will be the Eagles versus the Buccaneers. Then we move on to the 4 o'clock games. 4 o'clock games are fun because you're just like, okay, the 1 o'clock games are over. All right, I'm chilling now. Maybe my parlay's still going if you bet on the 4 o'clock games. Maybe they're over. You don't know. Maybe, your team played in the 1 o'clock time slot and they won and you're feeling great, or they lost and you're feeling horrible. So you're like, I don't care about the 4 o'clock games. But they're here because they're fun to watch. You got the New England Patriots, who potentially are the second worst team, or maybe the worst team in the NFL right now, depending on how the Panthers do this year. Playing the 49ers, who are beat up. George Kittle's coming back, or I think he was one of the ones who was there, actually. Jennings, I can't think of his first name, but went off for like 3 touchdowns last week versus the Rams, but still lost. Brock Purdy, is he an elite quarterback with all your stars out? Last week, yes and no. You were playing well, and then you choked it, or I guess you can say your defense choked it. But this is at home for the 49ers. The Patriots are coming in. I don't see the Patriots doing too much here. Maybe knocking on the door of the first quarter, but after that, I think the 49ers run away with it. Nick is going to give us the 49ers along with Beagle as well. Like I said, we know the 49ers are a better team, and I think they definitely do win this game. Your next 4 o'clock game is the Washington Commanders versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are playing better than what a lot of people thought. They almost beat the Lions last week, but they did lose. And the Washington Commanders are playing pretty well. If I had to look at their record, they are 2-1. The Arizona Cardinals are 1-2. So it's a lot of the either you're 0-3, 1-2, or 2-1 this week, which is funny. Not until you get to later in the season do you see, kind of lopsided records, 4-9, playing a 10-5 team or whatever, things like that. But Jalen Daniels is the answer for the Commanders. He's playing lights out right now. He's playing very well. And I'm super excited to see that for him. Connor Murray's the answer for the Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the answer for the wide receiver that they're looking for and that they need. I think this is going to be a really good game, but I do see the Commanders coming out on top. And I think Jaden Daniels, he's one of them LSU quarterbacks that, is transitioning well to the NFL. Nick is going with the Commanders. Beagle's going with the Cardinals, though. So there's a difference there. Like I said, this game could go either way, and I'm excited to watch that game. Then your 425 game, you got the Chiefs playing the Chargers, an AFC East showdown. The Chargers somehow always sneak in and get a game versus the Chiefs. I think they get it this week. Yes, it's a home game for them, but I think the Chiefs I don't think the refs bail you out this time. I think you really got to show up. Now, maybe this is a game that Travis Kelce does actually show up. Maybe this is a game that he's like, look, Taylor, watch me ball out. I don't know how that's going to go, but I think that the Chiefs win this game, or not the Chiefs, sorry. I do think the Chargers win this game because I like what they're doing. I like what their head coach is doing, bringing his offensive style to the NFL. And, the Chargers have been on that kind of like, hey, they're ready for the Super Bowl. I think they can make it. I think they can get there. And with the right head coach, I believe that they can get there. So give me the Chargers for this one at home. Let's see here. Nick is going to go with the Chiefs, which is totally okay. Maybe he thinks that the referees bail him out. And then Beagle also, so Beagle thinks the Chiefs as well. So I'm the only one here that does think that it's the Chargers who win this game. So, this will be a good AFC East showdown. You want to, take that division, wins early. And that's what the Chargers are going to do. And then our last 425 game is the Browns versus the Raiders. Now, the Browns, I don't know what the hell they're doing. The Raiders, their coach said that our players made some business decisions, and so are we. And with that being said, give me the freaking Raiders, guys. Give me the Raiders. Nick says give me the Raiders too. But Beagle says give me the Browns. What the hell is he thinking? Let's find out. Let's find out come Sunday at 4:25 when the game's over. But your 4 o'clock game of the week, I do think it will be the Commanders versus the Cardinals. Obviously, you got the AFC East showdown with the Chiefs and Chargers, which will be really, really good. But I do think the Commanders and the Cardinals will be a great team or great matchup to watch. Then our Sunday night game at 8:20, which is actually a good one, is the Buffalo Bills, which will be a lot better than the Monday night game, or than the last Sunday night game. Did they play Sunday? Bills played on Monday. Okay, sorry. There was 2 Monday night games last week. But they crushed the Jacksonville Jaguars. But they got a different opponent this week. They're playing the Baltimore Ravens, which the Ravens are not 0-3, but could be 0-3. But the Bills are 3-0. How do the Bills play? Do they carry over that momentum, even though they squeaked by a team that was not that good? Ravens are a better team. But the Ravens are not known to hold on to leads. And with that being said, I think the Bills get this win. I think the Bills are another team that stays undefeated this week. So give me the Bills going into Baltimore and getting a win. So does Nick. But Beagle does not think so. Beagle thinks that the Ravens get this win. And he's not lying. I mean, they really could. That is a good pick. It could go either way. I would love the Ravens to, get this win. But I think the Bills are just playing hot right now. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're checking off the boxes. Well, would you look at that, ladies and gentlemen? This Sunday night, we have 2. It's not Sunday. It's Monday night. Monday night, we have 2 Monday night games. One starting at 7:30 like we did last week, and one starting at 8:15. So that's really cool to see. 2 Monday night games, which, it's like, hey, is my fantasy lineup, does it come down to Monday night, or did it come down to Sunday night, or did all your players play in the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games? It's always really fun to see. But your first game at 7:30 is a trash game. It's the Tennessee Titans, who are also 0-3, playing the Miami Dolphins, who, if Tua didn't get hurt week 1, would also be, or if he got hurt earlier in the game, would also be 0-3. So it would be a matchup between 0-3 teams, but it's not. I don't know what too much to say about this. Like, obviously, I would obviously pick the Dolphins real easy, but give me the Titans. Let them get their first win of the season. Nick thinks so. He thinks the Titans in the AFC South gets it. But Beagle doesn't. Beagle thinks that the Dolphins can get this win because the Titans have been playing like absolute trash so far. And he thinks they stay undefeated. And he thinks they stay 0-4. Now, this is the Monday night game you guys will want to watch. It's the Seattle Seahawks versus the Detroit Lions. The Seahawks are coming into a Lions playground. You don't ever go into a Lions playground, especially as a bird. Why in the hell would you do that? Well, because the Seahawks are that confident that they're going to get this win. But I don't think so. I think the Lions get this win. But when you look at it, the Seahawks are 3-0. And the Lions are 2-1. So it's not a bad matchup as far as records. This is a really, really good matchup. And I do think it's going to come down to maybe a field goal. But I think the Lions get this one at home. They're under lights. And I think it'll be a really great game for the both of them. How well does Geno Smith play? How does that Lions defense stack up against, the Seahawks offensive line? How many times can they sack Geno Smith? Is it 1 or is it 0? That'll determine the game. But I'm going the Lions here, and I think they win by 3. Nick thinks the Lions win. I don't know by 3, but he at least thinks they win. And so does Beagle. So you do see a trend here of we all did pick the same Monday night game at 8:15 to cap off this week. Now, don't know how this week's going to go. It could go like last week where we were all 8-8, or it could go where someone, gets in that double figure win column again. But let's talk about this segment real quick before I let you all go. Which 0-3 team, or 0-3 team, can still make the playoffs? You've got the Cincinnati Bengals, you've got the Tennessee Titans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you've got 2 teams from the AFC South. With that being said, you've also got a team from the AFC North. Do I think the Jags have a chance? Absolutely not. Do I think the Titans have a chance? Absolutely not. I think they finished the bottom 2 spots in the AFC South. So I don't think they make the playoffs at all. But I do think the Cincinnati Bengals can make the playoffs. But you got to win this week versus the Panthers. And if you don't and you go 0-4, you can write your season off. And that's all I'm going to say, guys. That's how I'm going to leave you with this week 4 of the NFL. Please give your comments down below. Which 0-3 team do you think can make the playoffs, or do you think none of them make the playoffs? It's the NFL season. It's here. It's back, and it's in full swing. So I will see you guys all next week for week 5.